bathroom, and it is probably one of the world's smallest full bathrooms. We live in a house that was built in the 1960s, and it's tiny and old, and everything is falling apart. And if you follow us on Instagram, you'll remember a couple months ago we had a huge problem with our bathtubs, and we had to get plumbing done. We had plumbers here for like 2 days trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and they ended up having to tear out my bathtub and the wall around it. So since then we've had nothing, and you can kind of see behind me there's nothing there. And so today I am tackling a project to make this space look pretty, because we got some bad news that my husband's company is closing, and so he's going to be without a job. And so we don't have the money to really get the bathtub and walls put back together the way we want to. So for now, I'm just going to make it look pretty. And so you guys get to come along for the ride. Hopefully you'll like it, and hopefully it'll be helpful. And I'm going to turn the camera around and kind of show you this space and kind of tell you what my plan is for it.
Alright, so this is the spot where our bathtub used to be. And it's kind of gross and kind of nasty. And so we actually have 2 bathrooms, and they go back to back. So this is all the plumbing lines, and this is the new pipe that they had to run, because all the plumbing under here, under the ground, is wrong. So they did it wrong when they built the house, and I think it's just been kind of building up over the last, 60 years almost, and finally came to a head. Anyways, so this is what it looks like. You can see, like, in the past, oh, that's really blurry. There we go. In the past, there was some termite damage. We don't have termites now. This is really old stuff, but it kind of, they chewed up the wood, because that's obviously what termites do. And so this whole beam right there is kind of messed up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to faux shiplap this whole back wall, because I think that's all I might have the wood for today. I need to see when I'm done if I have enough to do like the side walls at all. But I'm gonna faux shiplap this whole wall. But in order to get the shiplap to stick, I need to do something about this eaten up beam. So I'm gonna get some 1x4s, which we have in our scrap pile, and just cut some to attach right here to the edge of the beam, so that it'll stick out and be the length that the beam is supposed to be. That way I'll have something to attach my faux shiplap to. So I'm gonna go cut some wood and get that going. Alright, so I've got my Ryobi nailer here. This is a 18 gauge nailer, and I'm using 1.5 inch brad nails to put this on. And so I'm just going to take my piece of 1x4 here. It's actually about 3.5 inches wide. This one is just shy of 3.5 inches wide, but I'm going to take this and line it up here so that it's flush with where that piece of wood would have stuck out, and then just stick some brad nails in to hold it in place. So I've got that piece on there, and then I've got the smaller piece that's going to go down here more towards the bottom, and I may need to cut just another scrap piece to go here. That way I have enough to nail my faux shiplap onto. actually renovating this bathroom. We're probably going to have to laminate something to this piece or figure out a way to replace it completely, because probably about half of it is kind of squishy and damaged. So, but that's a project for another time. Okay, I know you couldn't really see it in the last video, but this is the fire break that I'm talking about here. Because our house is so old, they actually built all the walls with this extra beam that goes through like a foot up from the bottom, and it's a fire break. So if there's ever a fire, it slows the fire down. So that's what I was talking about. But I ended up lifting that piece of 1x4 up about an inch and a half. That way it'll kind of fill in that whole space and give me something to nail my faux shiplap to. So I'm gonna go cut the piece I need for here and the little piece I need for here on the bottom, because that beam on the bottom is in pretty bad shape too. And then I'll come back and I'll nail those two on. Alright, let me get these pieces in, and then we'll be ready to start measuring for the actual faux shiplap. That's the fun part, because then it starts to look pretty. Alright, so I cut my first piece of my faux shiplap, and this is actually from Lowe's. It's their 1/4 inch underlayment, and I think it's like $16 for a 4x8 sheet. These pieces I actually had left over from when I did my faux shiplap in the hallway, and I don't have a video for that one, but I do have a blog post, so I will link that down below if you want to check that out. Lowe's actually cut these for me. They did it overnight, so I went and I purchased my piece of plywood, and then I told them how wide I wanted them. I think I did 5.5 inches, and then went back the next day and it was done. So I'm gonna take my piece here that I cut and just double check that it's gonna fit in there the way I want it, and that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple nails in there to hold it. And then I'm going to grab my level and just double check that it's level. And then if I need to adjust it, I'll do it on the next board a little bit and just kind of fix it that way. Because my wall here, where they cut it out, is not totally level. And so I'm going to make sure that, excuse me, that my shiplap is pretty level. But it doesn't have to be perfect, because this is not a permanent thing. It's just more of a temporary thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple nails in here. The nice thing is, because there's nothing here, I know exactly where to put my nails because I can see where the stud is. Now this one, when I nail it in, I want to make sure I'm nailing through my 1x4 here so that it has something to hold on to. Alright, so that looks good, and I actually brought with me the piece that came off the end. And so what I want to do is I'm going to stagger them a little bit so that I can use up all my scrap wood, but I want to see where it's going to fall, because what I need to have is I need to be able to nail my next piece on. So this one, I'm going to need to trim it so that it's hitting about halfway in that stud. That way I can put a couple nails on this side to hold this piece, and then I'll be able to nail the next piece for the other side onto there as well. So I'm going to get my pencil and then get my tape measure and go grab my level, and I will be right back. Alright, I brought my level with me just to double check this here. I'm going to line it up at the bottom of my shiplap, and it is actually pretty spot on, which I'm pleasantly surprised at, because nothing in our old house is ever straight or square. So that's great. I'm good to go. So I can just go off of this line that I have, and I'll probably check it again once I get about halfway down and just make sure that I'm still level. So I'm going to take this board here now and line it up on the edge with the board that I have. And then I want to come over here and make myself a little mark where the halfway point is on this beam. That way I can go take it outside to my miter saw and just cut it along there. And then once I get that in place, then I'm going to take the measurement for the other side. Okay, so I cut my piece. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that it fits in there and sits right at that halfway point, and it looks good to me. So let me go ahead and put my glasses on and grab my nailer here and get those in. I think I may, I don't think I'm gonna leave it yet. Let's get it over. Okay, and while I was out there, I actually cut the next piece that's gonna go here, because I know what that entire measurement is, and then I just kind of subtracted and figured out the length of this piece so that I didn't have to go back out a million times. So I'm gonna just nail this one on. Again, because we got these cut at Lowe's, they're only as perfect as the man who cut them. So they are just gonna have to work. I'm gonna do, instead of coming from this side, again, I'm gonna come over from this side and probably stop right about here. And then I'll have a nice long full piece going the other direction. That way they're kind of staggered and it looks a little more unplanned. So again, I'm just gonna mark the center here and take it back and cut it. And then I can actually just take a measurement. Oh, I didn't bring my tape measure in. Hey, this is why I need a tool belt. Tell my husband I need a tool belt. He doesn't believe me. So I'll just figure out the math out there and I'll subtract the measurement for this piece from my total measurement all the way across. And then I can cut both of those pieces and I'll cut another long piece to go underneath. Okay, so I decided to kind of change that up a little bit from what I said. And I've got my smaller piece to go here. I'm going to go ahead and nail that one in. Okay, and then I cut this piece to go right here, just to kind of break it up a little bit more. Just for fun, really. So what I'm trying to do is get those two pieces as even as I can. They're not going to be perfect, but I'm okay with that. And then I have my last piece fit right here. And I know there's going to be a little bit of a gap at the top, so I'm just going to make sure that the bottom is lined up so that my next piece will go on much nicer. think I'm going to come in from this side again. I'm going to line it up at that end and then mark the center here. And then I'm actually going to just take this other piece and hold it up here on this side and mark the center. And then I can just go cut those two pieces and I'll be ready to put those up. Don't go in the sink. No, don't go in the sink. Okay, there we go. The other side. Ready to put the last piece on, and this is actually like a leftover piece, so it's not the full 5.5 inches, it's probably more like 3.5, 4 inches, but I can't let it go all the way down to the bottom of the floor because I have to let this water line for our refrigerator kind of sit there. Now when our bathtub was here, it wasn't a problem because that just ran behind the bathtub and there wasn't a wall behind the bathtub. So now that I'm trying to put a wall up, I need to just not go all the way down to the bottom. That way that can still sit there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this last strip on. And we're good to go. Got it done, and I think it looks pretty good. Looks way better than the naked wall behind it. So I don't think I'm gonna prime it. I think I may just use the paint and primer that I got from Lowe's and maybe just do 2 coats of it. I know it's gonna look a little rustic, and that's good because that's what I want. So I'm gonna get the paint ready and do some painting. So I'm using the color Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams, and this is a paint and primer combined, got it at Lowe's. So I probably will be able to get away with just 2 coats. I've actually never used this color, but I've been wanting to because it's been pinned on my Pinterest page like forever. So I'm gonna throw it up here. We'll see how it looks. I've got 2 coats of paint up there. The second coat is drying pretty quickly, but I'm gonna take just this scraper and go kind of in these cracks between planks and just try and get some of that paint out. I know it's not all gonna come out, but I don't want the bubbles of paint on there either. Joint pieces were a pretty tight fit, which is good because it means I can cut my pieces well. Alright, that looks good. I think it's done.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of DIY tutorial, and if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe and feel free to leave me a comment down below and just let me know if you liked it, if you thought it was helpful, or what you want to see next. And I'll see you on the next video.